Hey queens, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are ranking all of my Colourpop palettes. You guys know I'm obsessed with eyeshadow palettes. I did a video talking about all of my eyeshadow palettes, my whole eyeshadow collection. If you haven't checked out that video, I will put that in the cards up here. But today is all about Colourpop. I believe I have between 16 and 20 Colourpop palettes, as well as some new ones I haven't even tried yet. I'm going to talk about those. I'm going to say which ones I'm most excited to try, which ones that I'm just going to try whenever I get some time. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this intro. And don't forget to like this video, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into it. Okay, so I think I'm gonna start with the worst one. My worst Colourpop palette, hands down, I have to say it, is this Frozen palette. It is the Frozen 2 palette. It is the Elsa palette. I would have to say, I don't know, I got it. I reviewed this palette, and honestly, I didn't even upload the video. I wasn't happy with the look. I just didn't, I don't know. I just felt like when they took a picture of it, you know how sometimes they amplify the photo, and sometimes it's just too amplified to the point that when you get the palette home, you're just like, oh, like that's kind of how I felt about this palette. Like, no shade or no tea, I used it, but I just don't see myself constantly diving into this palette. So I would have to say this is like, this would definitely like get a 1 for me. The next palette is the She palette. This is the one they had with Karrueche. This is the Karrueche times Colourpop thing, and this is what it looks like. Honestly, when I first tried this palette, I just felt like the colors weren't true to color. I didn't feel like I can get like a really bold eye look with it. I really just bought it because it was times Karrueche. I wanted to support Karrueche, but outside of that, I just don't even reach. I don't even reach for this palette. I haven't reached for this palette since I purchased it. I should declutter it. I'm just not ready to do a palette declutter yet. Maybe later, but just not right now. So this definitely is a 3 for me. The next palette is the Frozen palette. It is the Anna palette. It went along with the Elsa collection, and basically to me, I would have to say that I preferred this way better than the other one, and this is what it looks like. I really did like the colors in this one. The only eyeshadow that I didn't like was this right here, because it's one of those pressed glitters, and when you apply it, sometimes it's just all separated. It just doesn't pack nicely, but outside of that, I did like this palette. I liked everything but that shade, and I did post a review on this one. The next palette I would have to say is the Star Wars palette. I know everybody's obsessed with Star Wars, but I just did not reach for this. I felt like I tried it one time. I do like the lime greens. I really do like this brown right here. One thing I do like about this palette is that it doesn't have that pressed glitter. For some reason, Colourpop tends to put that pressed glitter in all their palettes, but I do like the fact that this one doesn't have one. I would have to give this palette definitely a 5. It's mint, and the eyeshadow just fell out. So, but I bought 2 of these thinking that I was going to be obsessed. So even though that eyeshadow just fell out, it doesn't matter. I have another one. My next palette is Shayla times Colourpop, the Proceed with Caution palette. I was obsessed with this palette when it first came out. It is so beautiful. I love the fact that Colourpop did partner up with Shayla. I made sure to grab all of her collections with them. I am obsessed with this palette. I feel like these are like some everyday colors that I can gravitate to, especially all of these right here. Not so much the yellow, but like, you know, the burgundy and, you know, the oranges and stuff like that. I definitely love this palette. It's not one of my most favorite, but it is something that I can see myself gravitating to and constantly continuing to use. Up next is my Colourpop Singles. I wanted to include this in here because Colourpop allows you to pretty much build your own palette, and pretty much what you do is you pick the outside and then you build you end up picking your own individual eyeshadows. And I would definitely have to say this is one of my favorites. I like the fact that they allowed you to pick the own shadows. It didn't matter if you picked two of the same shadows, and they let you create your own palette. So this is definitely one of my favorites. I love the mattes in here. I feel like this definitely represents me. It's very colorful. I love colorful eyeshadow. I'm obsessed. And if you haven't created your own, I would definitely say do so. I know it's not a palette, but their singles are bomb, and you could definitely create. I mean, you could create a better palette than some of these, honestly. Up next is the It's Your Pleasure palette. This one, I would have to say, is one of my favorites, hands down. You guys know I am obsessed with purple. I love purples. I love doing purple looks. I'm just obsessed with purple looks. I do them all the time, and this is one of my favorites. Like, look at these. It definitely makes me want to go back and do a look and do like a throwback Thursday with this. I think I'm going to leave this palette out because this is definitely one, if not one of my favorite palettes from Colourpop. Now we're getting into the ones I am definitely obsessed with. I can never see myself decluttering any of these in front of me. And one of the first ones is the Colourpop Sandstone palette. This, I've never seen them make a palette this shape with these many eyeshadows, and this is what it looks like. You guys know I did a review on this palette. To me, this is my everyday neutral palette. I could get my neutral looks out of this. I am obsessed. I felt like when Colourpop came up with this, they definitely stepped their game up. The pigmentation on the eyeshadows seemed very much way more improved. I just love it. No patchiness, easy to blend, very natural. If you haven't, check this palette out. I would definitely go do so. I remember, I think I gave 2 of these away or 1 of these away around Christmas time. Bomb. My next palette is the Whatever palette, and this is what it looks like. I love it. The maroon shades. I am a sucker for maroons. Those are like one of my go-to shades. Like, I can literally take a maroon eyeshadow, just throw it in my crease and go. I am obsessed. This palette, I don't even know if they still make this palette, but if they do still make the Whatever palette, please go grab it. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Look at the pigmentation. It's just bomb. My next palette is the Perception palette. This is another palette with Shayla times Colourpop, and this is hands down my favorite palette that she did with them. I felt like this palette definitely represented her. This palette is so beautiful. I don't know if this one is still available. If it is, because you know Colourpop, you know, they come in, they come out. Their production is just on a whole nother level. Like, they put out palettes so fast and they get rid of them even faster. So if you haven't checked this palette out, please go do so. If they don't have it, I would definitely say check out somebody's Poshmark to see if they have it on there. If you really want it, check it out. My next 3 palettes are my favorites. These are my ride or dies. I will never get rid of these. One is the Bare Necessities palette, and I would have to say these are Colourpop's biggest palettes. This is when they really started to get into big palettes, and I love this. This is a nude palette. I love nude palettes. I feel like these are the ones that you could just literally take with you when you travel, because you could create any type of look with this. Everyday looks, go with anything that you wear. I am obsessed. 2 of my all-time favorite palettes, and these palettes are tied. They both are with influencers. One is the So Jaded palette. This was the first big palette that Colourpop came out with, and I am obsessed with the color. Look at that. All this color in this palette is so beautiful. I love the pigmentation. I love the bright colors. Kathleen Lights always does, you know, Colourpop collections and stuff like that, but to me this is definitely my favorite, and hands down my ride or die, my #1 of all time is the At Forest Sight palette with Raw Crusty Beauty. I love it. I can tell that the pigmentation is on a whole nother level here. It's so beautiful. These shades were easy to blend. I feel like I always want to just dive into this palette to come up with different looks. I am obsessed. This is definitely my favorite palette from Colourpop. Up next, the next three palettes are palettes I have not even dived into yet. I haven't even looked there. I haven't even looked at them. And these are the three palettes. It is the Big Poppy palette, the Garden Variety palette, as well as the Fade into Hue palette. And I'm going to show you guys what it looks like, and I'm going to tell you guys which ones I'm most excited to try. I also have a new palette from Colourpop that's on its way, so I'll talk about that when it gets here. But I love this colorful, like, look at this. I feel like these are some really nice shades. This is just in enough time for spring. I'm loving the colorful vibe here. I'm definitely excited to see if the pigmentation is going to give you that really, really, really bright eye look here. I'm excited to try this palette. The Garden Variety palette, I am obsessed with. When I saw this, I literally got this one when it was on sale. I mean, Colourpop literally had this on sale. I believe I got it for like $5. And this is what this one looks like. And then last but not least, the Big Poppy palette. I feel like this is just some really nice, like, fall kind of vibes. And this is what it looks like. Out of all three of these palettes, I would have to say my one that I'm most excited about is the Garden palette. I'm excited to try this one. I really feel like I'm obsessed with these colors. I really want to see what type of spring look I can do, or what type of spring look I can create with this palette. And I would have to say that is my favorite. And then after that is the Fade into Hue palette, and then this Big Poppy palette. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my Colourpop collection. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That's how I feel about my whole entire collection. I know at some point I'm going to have to declutter. It's just not gonna be now. But outside of that, let me know which one was your favorite Colourpop palettes. Please let me know which ones you guys have in your collection, which ones you wish you had, which ones you like, which ones you don't like. Comment down below. I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon in the next one. Bye, guys.